G over C. Just every now and then, whenever you want.
Are you gonna put lyrics to it?
Have you? I got a melody. I gotta listen to it. I'm thinking about Proverbs chapter 3, verses 4, 5, and 6.
Writing Christian songs.
G again. To the A. Which one was that?
I've been listening to you play while I'm driving.
I love that.
So I'm gonna start from the G. I can see if I can get it.
Here. And the D.
Well, there ain't everybody up here, so.
What else are we missing?
Sugars. Peggy Nelson.
Lord.
What?
Right before Daniel comes in, tell him he's here now.
Okay, we're starting in 10 seconds, guys.
It's all you, John.
With or without Allison.
Well, good morning. That's muted. Good morning, Life Church. We're so excited that you guys are here today, that you get to kick off fall with us. Let's stand up together this morning in worship. And for those of you that are joining us online, we're so excited that you're here with us. Let's all worship together this morning. I searched the world, but it couldn't fill me. And man's empty praise and treasures that fade are never enough. Then you came along and put me back together. And every desire is now satisfied here in your love. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing. Nothing is better than you. I'm not afraid to show you my weakness, my failures and flaws. Lord, you've seen them all, and you still call me friend. It's the God of the mountain, is the God of the valley. And there's not a place your mercy and grace won't find me again. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing. Nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing. Nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can. Amen, church. You guys can be seated.
Well, good morning and welcome to Life Church, where we exist to be a safe place for you to find and follow Jesus. Y'all, it is fall kickoff Sunday. Are you guys excited? Some of you don't care about that. You just want to go watch football, and that's okay. But we are excited. This is a fall kickoff, and so we are celebrating not only what God has done over the summer, but we are celebrating and expecting in what he's going to do this fall. So we have a lot planned for this fall. If you're not plugged in or you don't know what's happening at Life Church, we want to connect with you. If it's your first time or you've been coming for a while, we're so glad you're here. But for your first time, we have something that we just want to say thank you. So if you haven't already gotten a connection card out front, there'd be a connection card there in your seat, or you can use the QR code. And we just ask that you use that, you fill that out, and then take it to the front, let us know that you filled out that connection card, and we'll send you home with a small gift saying, again, thank you for joining us. If you're online, we want to do the same for you. So there's, in the description box, you can click the link there, fill out the connection card. Obviously, you're not here with us, but we would love to send something to you in the mail just for joining us online. We love you guys just as much as we do everyone that's here this morning. So with that being said, guys, if you want to know how to stay connected at Life Church, anything that's going on, our website is the best place to do so. That's www.lifechurchhw.church. lifechurchhw.church. Figure out what's going on here, stay connected, and let's continue in worship.
All right, let's stand up this morning, church, continue to worship.
Welcome in our hearts. Come and have your way. Oh God, won't you meet us face to face? All-consuming fire, move without restraint. Breathe on us, Spirit. We stand in the glory of the King, knowing that you're here. You have set us free. Amen. You're here. Let our worship be your throne. Amazed by who you are, your presence makes us whole. Sing this out, church. Breathe on us, Spirit, come. You're our heart's desire. Breathe on us, Spirit, come. You're our heart's desire. Breathe on us, Spirit. sing, church. Dear Lord, we thank you for your presence today. We love you, Jesus. Walking around these walls, I thought by now they'd fall, but you have never failed me yet. Waiting for change to come, knowing the battle's won, for you have never failed me yet. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You've never failed me yet. Thank you, Lord. I know the night won't last. Your word will come to pass, and my heart will sing your praise again. Jesus, you're still enough. Keep me within your love. My heart will sing your praise again. Sing it out, yes. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You've never failed. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You've never failed me yet. No, you haven't, God. Oh yes, I've seen you move. You move the mountains, and I believe I'll see you do it again. You made a way where there was no way, and I believe I'll see you do it again. I've seen you move the mountains, and I believe I'll see you do it again. You made a way is my confidence. You've never failed. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness. Your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You've never failed. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness. Your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never failed me yet. Ooh, you've never failed me yet. I never will forget that you've never failed me yet. We never will forget.
Let's pray this morning. Father, we thank you for this day that we get to come to your house, Father, that we get to worship you freely. God, I pray that we don't take for granted the privilege that we have to come to your house, Father, to meet with you. Today, Father, I pray that you would just give each and every one of us the hearts that are open, Father, to hear what you have for us today. We're just so thankful for you, for your son, what you've done for us. And God, I ask these things in your name. Amen.
Well, good morning, Life Church. Good morning. You guys look so great today on our fall kickoff. Aren't you guys excited about fall? I'm tired of summer. I'm tired of being so hot. It's really cool outside. You can tell today. Fall's here, right? No, not really. But it's nice seeing you guys on your jerseys. You know, at this church, we may not talk about politics, but we will talk about football, right? Yeah, it's a good thing. I tell you, you guys all have your jerseys on. As you can tell, number one, Michigan. It is, you know, we are right there this year. Roll Tide, Lord have mercy. Yeah. If you saw on this stage, there was way too much red on this stage. Isn't red the color of the devil, I think, right? It's like somewhere in there. I don't know. Yeah. Thank you, James. Thank you. Boy, there's a good way to get a church split going here, right? Yeah, all right, good. Yeah, it is exciting to be here today. And we always look forward to this day, the Sunday after Labor Day. We always call it our fall kickoff because from now until Christmas, it's just crazy, isn't it? Life is crazy. Everything's, and you know what I really like about it as being a pastor is it means that for the most part, most of the vacations and everything are done. I like being gone. I like vacations. I like getting everywhere. But for the fall, it seems to be one of those seasons where people, when school starts, they're kind of in, and it's always good for church attendance and finding new people looking for a church. And if today's your first time here at Life Church, thank you so much for being here today because we really are excited about what God is doing at Life Church and about our future. And if you notice as you came in out front, and Stephen will come back in up here in a little bit at the end and explain some more about all that, but just all kinds of stuff out there. You'll be able to say yes at the end of the service to different areas where you might want to serve around Life Church. We have a lot of different unique serving opportunities here. So if you want to make a difference, this is the spot to make it right here at Life Church. Also, you'll see some different, there's going to be shirts out there, there's cups out there, there's books for life groups that are getting started, and you can package it all together for the low price of $49.95 and you'll be good to go today. Just playing, but we do got some really cool Life Church tumblers out there, so you want to make sure you get that. It's all free, except for the life group books. You got to pay for those. But for the tumbler, the Life Church tumblers, take those. They're awesome. They are really, really cool. Take one of those home with you today. We're trying to get rid of all the shirts that we have, and we're going to be getting some new shirts in here soon. So get rid of all that stuff and wear your Life Church merch and show your Life Church merch out around town, and to be a great thing. But thank you guys so much for being here today on our fall kickoff. And today is September 11th, and of course it's a historic day for our country as well, looking back to September 11th, 2001. And it's one of those days, of course, where probably you remember where you were at that very moment. And at that moment in 2001, I was on staff at a church in Mississippi with Stacy's dad, and we were building a new building, which one day we're going to be doing right here, right, church? Yeah, one day. And we were actually, the walls were up on the outside, and it was the first day of framing. And we were framing in, me and my father-in-law and about 4 or 5 other guys, we were framing in the offices. And then, of course, you got the word and everything was kind of crazy there for a little while. But then you forward the clock to just 6 years ago from today, on September 11th, 2016, Life Church held its first preview service. And we had our family and a few others that are still around Life Church here moved, and June of 2016 to the Orlando area, to Winter Garden, Windermere, and Horizon West right here. And so we moved in June, and then we held our first preview service on September 11th of 2016 at the West Orange Country Club. And boy, it has been a journey since then. We, of course, didn't officially kick off regular weekly services until February 5th of 2017. But it's always cool for me to reminisce and look back. This is the first time that September 11th actually hit on a Sunday since that day. And looking back to that day, there were 52 people total in attendance that morning. But a real number, we had so many people. We had 3/4 of those people were family and friends from out of town that came in and wanted to be a part of that first thing with us. There was actually only 17 people really at that first service that we held that were locals. And so God has blessed Life Church, and with growth and with life change and all kinds of things that have happened in the last 6 years since we kicked off that very first preview service. And that was the only time we were ever at the West Orange Country Club, because you see these curtains, they only had one room that we could use. And so you had the adults sitting like right here, and then you had the kids right on the other side of that. You talk about interesting and trying to preach over that. There wasn't a lot of kids, but it doesn't take a lot of kids to make a lot of noise, right? And so it was an interesting day, but by the very next month, we ended up over at Bay Lake Elementary in October for our preview service there, just over there in Windermere, where Life Church was for the first 2.5 years until we moved over to this facility over Water Spring. But today isn't about that. It was just kind of one of those days to reminisce, because it helps me remember where we were and then look back to see God's hand to get us to where we are today, and then gives me hope for the future, that God has a big plans for Life Church, to continue to see life change and continue to see people choose to follow Him. So, but here, today was kind of the culmination of what we've been talking about the last several weeks about making a difference. Making a difference. Because, ultimately the example to make a difference is given to us by Jesus. Jesus is our example for everything, isn't He? He's our example for everything that you need to know about what it is to be a follower. It's all because we talk about we want this place to be a safe place for people to find and follow, not just what you think or what something you make up in your mind, but it's find and follow Jesus. So if you want to follow Jesus, you gotta, it's real simple. If you want to live like Him and love like Him, well, then you got to know what He did, right? So we just got to look in Scripture and see, what did Jesus do? If I'm going to follow Him, then I need to know what He did. So we look in Scripture, and then we like, oh, that's what He did. So then this is what it looks like to be a follower of Jesus. And Jesus ultimately lived His life to make a difference. And if we say we want to live and love like Jesus, then we should examine, like we just said, the way that He did that. Because it is in emulating Jesus and doing the things that He did, or more importantly, having the heart that He did for why He did what He did, in turn ultimately to make a difference in the lives of people. Jesus, when you think about Jesus, if you know the stories of Jesus, He always had crowds around Him, didn't He? There were always crowds. He taught large crowds, small crowds, medium-sized crowds. There was always crowds. People found out Jesus was going to be in the house. Boy, all of a sudden there was a crowd of people, right? Because they had heard about all the miracles and all the teachings, and they wanted, that there was all this hubbub of figuring out what is going on right here. So there was always crowds around Him. But the one thing that you will see about Jesus and His ministry and His time here is the crowds really weren't something that He went after. Jesus didn't go through, Him and His disciples, they didn't go through publicity stuff. They didn't do marketing. They didn't do all those things in order to draw a crowd. It just happened. But then when you saw the crowd, you see over and over again where Jesus sees the individual. Jesus sees the individual over and over again and makes an impact on individuals. Jesus understood that in order to make a difference in the masses, in the crowds, you have to make a difference in individuals' lives. And that's what we see Him doing over and over again, what we're going to see in just a few moments here this morning. If you want to open up to Luke chapter 19 on your devices and your Bibles, or you can follow along on the screen right here. And we're going to, maybe a familiar story for you, especially if you've been around Life Church. You've heard me talk about this a couple other times in these last 6 years. But in this story, I believe really helps us, it's one of the many stories that help us really see the heart of Jesus and what really motivated Him. And it really gives us a great example of how to see people and how to see people like He did and how to love people. So let's look here in Luke chapter 19, starting in verse number 1. It says, He entered Jericho, talking about Jesus, and was passing through. And behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus. You guys remember the name Zacchaeus? Some of you, yeah. And he was a what? The wee little man. Yeah, some of you guys went to Sunday school, didn't you, out there? Who all grew up in Sunday school? All right, well, yeah, about half of y'all probably went to Sunday school, and you probably all know that song, right? You guys all want to sing it now? Who cares about this band stuff? There's a lot more fun songs, right? Like Zacchaeus was a wee little man, and wow, look at you guys, sound so good. All right, yeah, great. So that's the story of Zacchaeus right here. It says behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus. Well, who is Zacchaeus? Well, it says he was a chief tax collector and was rich. So he's the guy that nobody liked. And he was seeking to see who Jesus was. But on account of the crowd, he could not, because he was small in stature. So he ran on ahead and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was about to pass that way. And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I must stay at your house today. Pretty cool, isn't it? Pretty cool story. But I think there's some really neat stuff that we can hold on to, that we can grab onto as a church as we continue to move forward as a church with the goal to make a difference in the lives of people. Because in this story, let's just take just a few moments and make a couple observations about maybe some of the key components or key people, key things in this. And of course, you got number one, you got the man Zacchaeus, right? Zacchaeus, the Bible here tells us who he was, that he was a Jewish tax collector and he was rich. Man, in that time, even more so than today, tax collectors, they were despised. They were just utterly despised there in that culture. And to be a Jewish tax collector, just like Matthew was as well, the writer of the gospel there, man, they were despised people because they were actually working for a foreign government, and then a lot of them ended up extorting their own people in order to pad their own pockets. So these were people in that culture, man, where people did not like the tax collector, okay? They were looked at as kind of, from the Jewish perspective, they were looked at as being like the scum of the earth at this point. He was not part of the religious establishment. He wasn't one of the Pharisees or one of the rulers there at this point. But at some point, he heard about Jesus from someone. He heard maybe the stories of Jesus healing, or maybe he heard some of the cool teachings of Jesus that were going against the status quo. But at some point, this guy Zacchaeus had heard about Jesus, and he wanted to find out for himself what all the excitement was about. Why are the crowds gathering for this guy Jesus? So you got this guy Zacchaeus, this tax collector, the one who is despised by his own people. All of a sudden he hears about Jesus coming to his town, and he wants to find out for his own sake of what all this is about. Zacchaeus here was so intent on seeing Jesus that when he got to where Jesus was going to come, there's the crowd. He can't see through the crowd because of his stature, so he runs on ahead, and he finds himself a tree. And just even the act of running was not a normal thing for a man in this time, especially one of his stature. So Zacchaeus was willing to do whatever it took, and he wanted to do whatever it took so that he could see Jesus, so that he could just maybe get a glimpse of him, just hear him, or maybe he'd be able to catch a glimpse of him performing some great miracle. So he raced ahead. But he couldn't find a spot because the crowd was so great on this day. So he improvised, and he found a tree. He found a tree and climbed up in the tree so that he could see Jesus. Not only you got Zacchaeus here, but you have the crowd, right? The crowd, man, they were excited to see Jesus. They were excited, they in turn, if you go through the Gospels, just like we have done for a lot of this year, walking through the book of John, every time when people heard that Jesus was coming to their town, it was like a sold-out house real quick, right? Just like when your favorite artist is coming to the Amway or somewhere, boy, next thing you know, you're on there, you're fighting for the tickets, and you want to do it. You hear, whenever I hear that Michigan's going to be in the Citrus Bowl, and hopefully we're never going to be in the Citrus Bowl again. I don't think we are. I think we're going to be beating Alabama in the playoff this year, which is going to be good. Yeah, my brother-in-law's laughing now, but just wait. Boy, but you do whatever you can to get the tickets, right? And get the tickets the best ones that you can. You want the best seat in the house. And so you got this crowd, man, they are gathering to see Jesus. They're excited about it. Why? Because, Jesus was making the blind to see. He was making the dumb to hear. He was making the lame to walk. He was teaching with an authority that had never been seen or heard. And this crowd, they were excited. This was their chance to see Jesus as well. But this crowd that was excited to see Jesus, boy, they were excited about him, but this guy Zacchaeus, he was just an afterthought to him. He was an outsider. And if you read on further in the story, if you were to go on and read here, the crowd looked at him and they said, man, that guy is a sinner. What is Jesus? Because what does Jesus do? He comes down and Jesus goes to his house with them. And the people look at him like, what is Jesus doing with that sinner? Can you believe Jesus hangs out with sinners? Isn't it detestable? It's horrible, right? So you got the people looking at this guy and they're just thinking, what is going on right here? The crowd, but ultimately here, the crowd itself was the thing that was standing in the way of this guy getting to Jesus. So you had Zacchaeus, you got the crowd, and then you got this sycamore tree, right? You got this tree, and sycamore trees are very common in that area. And from what I read, that they can grow in excess of 100 feet. Huge trees with a base as large as 6.5 feet around. Just mammoth. And they're actually an ancient species of the fig tree. Large trees that are great for climbing, and that's exactly what Zacchaeus did. He improvised and did what was necessary for him to get to see Jesus. So you got this, you got the crowd, you got Zacchaeus, you got this tree, but really the central figure, really even in this story, we focus so much even on just Zacchaeus, but it's not really Zacchaeus, but it's still Jesus is the central part of this story. The story isn't about Zacchaeus, but it's really about Jesus and the difference that he makes in this guy's life. Jesus wasn't interested in the crowd this day, because as Jesus came by, Jesus looks up and says, Zacchaeus, you come down because I'm going to go to your house today. Out of all the people that are gathered in the crowd, and the crowds are everywhere, remember you got a great crowd, and Jesus sees the one, he sees the individual. And he says, Zacchaeus, and he calls him out by name. He sees the individual. He sees the one. He was interested in the outsider. He was interested in the one that the crowd called the sinner. Jesus came so that those that were far from him, those that were sick could be made well, those that were far from him could come into relationship, so that the broken could find healing, so that the hurting could become whole. And I'm sure Zacchaeus on this day, I'm sure he had no idea that Jesus would even see him, let alone come call him out in front of all these people and say, man, I'm coming to your house today. That was, I'm sure, the furthest thing from his mind. He wasn't thinking, I'm sure he probably thought, man, this is a good spot. I'll be able to see Jesus. I'll be able to hide, and I'll be okay. I'll be able to get my glimpse. So here you got all this going on right here, and then you got the reaction of the crowd. The crowd was stunned and couldn't believe what they were seeing. Because if there were betting odds going on about who Jesus was going to go and have dinner with that evening, this Zacchaeus would have been the long shot. He wasn't the one that the crowd was probably thinking. They're thinking, man, Jesus, pick me. But no, Jesus goes after Zacchaeus. He is the one that nobody would have had their money on this day. Church, so what do we take out of this moving forward? I believe there's a few really neat things that we can take out of this and that we've tried to live by over the last several years at Life Church in order to make a difference in the lives of others. This is one of these stories, whenever I remember it, and as we go through it, always reminds me of why we do what we do. And it reminds me of what propels me to do what we do and to lead the way that we lead and to see people the way that we see people around here. And whenever we look at this, it always makes me think that, you know what, we as Life Church, out of either being the crowd or the tree, it's much better to be the tree than just to be part of the crowd. That tree that Zacchaeus climbed up in was what lifted him up so that he could see Jesus. That we need to be like that tree, a church filled with people that are willing to invest in others, to raise others up so that they can see Jesus, not just to be part of a crowd, but then have eyes and a heart of Jesus to see the one and say, man, I need to lift this person up so that they can see Jesus. I know Jesus, so I want others to see Jesus, so I'm going to lift them up. We need to be willing to raise others up so that others, people that are far from God, can see Jesus. So that they would, so that people would have the same opportunity that you and I have had in order to hear about Jesus, to know Jesus, to fall in love with Jesus, to serve him. Man, for us to be filled, my prayer for years has been for us to have a church that is filled with people that are always looking for the one and then lifting them and doing whatever they can so that that person can see Jesus. You know, I have no interest for Life Church to ever just be a church to have a big crowd. Man, it'd be nice for us to continue to grow and continue to reach more people and see it continue to fill up and to see God do that. But that ultimately is not the end game or the goal, right? Because sometimes you can build a crowd and then the mission can become pretty ineffective, can't it? Because everything becomes about the crowd and we lose sight of the one. You know, too many churches, too many followers of Jesus get in the way of people finding Jesus, and that's a tragedy, isn't it? When a church or the followers of Jesus get in the way of people that are outside that don't know Jesus, and they get in the way of the people that are needing him. What a tragedy that is. It's a tragedy in this story, isn't it? That a tree had to lift Zacchaeus to see Jesus. You don't even see his disciples saying, hey, what about that guy that is trying to see Jesus? So you see that guy trying to get in here? Hey, guys, make way. Let him get to the front. You know, he's small in stature. You'll be able to see over him, right? You don't see anybody trying to do anything in order to get Zacchaeus the prime spot in order to see Jesus, because obviously they looked at him as being someone that would need what Jesus was offering, right? Because he was the sinner. They were okay, right? They had eyes for themselves and not eyes for others. Life Church, though, those of you that follow Jesus here today, we have to be willing to put ourselves aside, to be willing to do whatever is necessary so that people can find and follow Jesus. That's our mission around here, right? There's our vision statement, and you hear us say it probably multiple times each and every week, that we desire Life Church to be a safe place for people to find and follow Jesus. And therefore, everything we do needs to be filtered through that, and we need to be willing to do whatever it takes so that people can do what? Find and follow Jesus. Not to build a crowd, but to build a church filled with people that are focused on that, of fulfilling the mission that Jesus has given us, to see people find and follow him. And you know, when we talked about finding and following, it's not just the thing of, there are two words in there, find and follow, right? So you're finding him, you're following him, and in there, yes, you got that aspect of people going that are far from God, that are then choosing to follow God, but then you have that aspect where for us to mature in our faith, right? As we grow in our faith, as we walk after him. You know, there are many aspects in that as a church. You know, there was it always reminds me with this whenever we, one of the times when we were in Mississippi, I told you in September 11th there, we were building a building, and as part of building in that building, our church at that point met in an auto parts store. Daniel, you remember that auto parts store? Yeah, Daniel would have been real little then. How old were you in 2001? Like 5 or 6, yeah. So Daniel was little back then, yeah. So Daniel remembers that, and so we are in that auto parts store, and the church was pretty small at this point. You know, there were 60, 70 people maybe showing up for service and everything in this auto parts store. The church had sold their property, and they were in this literally just a little auto parts store, and then we were building our building just the next town over. And in that process, we had have you ever heard of somebody leaving a church because somebody sat in their seat? You guys ever hear those? I mean, sometimes you think, oh, that's just stories the preachers tell, right? No, literally, we had someone leave our church because someone sat in their seat. We had a visiting family this one day, and just to get a visiting family to come to an auto parts store to go to church, come on. I mean, that's a miracle in and of itself, right? I mean, you're like, yay, you think somebody would be excited about seeing a new family, you know, that had 2 little girls to show up to church, man. And next thing you know, a couple, man, they sat in that same spot right there where Mike and Christina are sitting, probably about right there. And then so they came in and they said, this new young family came and sat there. Man, this other family, they walked in, they saw that, and man, they hightailed it out there, and they never came back to church again. They were mad. Somebody sat in their seat. It sounds crazy, isn't it? But that's a reality in too many churches and too many followers of Jesus, where they see things out of what's best for them instead of what's best for others. You know, we don't have name tags on any of the seats, never will. And if you get mad because somebody sits in your seats, oh well, you know, you'll just have to deal with it, right? You know, we're not going to be that church around here. And that wasn't our church there, you know, that wasn't our mindset there either. But for some reason, somebody had that mindset in their head. That's what I'm talking about getting in the way of others finding Jesus, because this thing of following Jesus isn't about us, it's about Jesus, right? It's about having the eyes and the heart of Jesus. You know, if we can build a church that is nothing more than a crowd, or we can be a church that makes a difference and lifts people to Jesus. But we have to make choices, right? Are we going to see people the way Jesus sees people? Are we going to love people the way Jesus loved people? Are we going to see the individual? And are we going to make sure that the individual matters more than what the crowd, right? Are we going to see people like Jesus? Are we going to be a church to lift people to Jesus? Man, it would be such a it would break my heart to know that we would do something in order to hinder someone from finding Jesus. Someone that is far from God. For us to put things in the way. We ought to make it so stinking easy for someone to come to Jesus around here. This ought to be the easiest place in all of Horizon West, right here at Life Church. And not just what happens here on Sunday morning, but what happens all through the week as the followers of Jesus. We ought to make it so easy for people to find Jesus. But yet we make it so hard sometimes, don't we? As we start winding this down here this morning, like I said, I'm not going to keep you long, because there's other stuff we want. Stephen's going to come up, and there's some other things that are happening today, so... But we don't want to just build a crowd, but we want to make a difference in the lives of people. We want to be a church that lifts people up to Jesus. We don't want them to have to go through all these other things and find a tree to see them. We want to, when somebody comes up like this, we want to part the sea and let them have the front row. Let them have the best seat available. We can be a church that is all about ourselves, or a church that is about people that are far from God. You know, Christians talk a whole lot about looking like Jesus. Well, let me say this. If you want to look like Jesus, you must love like Jesus. And how do you love like Jesus? Well, you just simply love people. All people. Doesn't matter who they are. Here, this guy, the crowd had labeled him because they didn't like what he did as a profession and stuff, so they labeled him and put a label on him and said, that guy's a sinner. He doesn't deserve to be up here. They thought more of themselves than they did of the individual. And they stood in the way. If you want to look like Jesus, you must love like Jesus. And how do you do that? Like we said, you just got to simply love people. And love them just like he did. Everyone. Love all people. You have to choose to follow Jesus, but you don't get to choose what following looks like. You know, Jesus set the standard for that, and we've talked about that the last several weeks when we've been talking about making a difference and what that looks like in the area of serving and then leaning into the giftings that God has given to each and every one of us. And God has a life of significance for each and every person here. If you're a follower of Jesus, God has gifted you in an incredible way, and he wants you to lean into that gifting, to say yes to him, and say, yes, God, I'll do whatever it takes in order to make it easy for people to find and follow Jesus. God has an amazing plan for us in that. And Jesus, as we looked at a few weeks ago, how he washed his disciples' feet. Jesus set the standard of what it looks like in order to make a difference and to serve. And here in this story, Jesus sets these examples, and he sees the one. We don't have to go about it and try to make up things as we go. He set the standard for us. Now, as a follower of Jesus, it's our job to do the best job we can to emulate what we saw Jesus do. Now, none of us are Jesus, and you're going to fail just like I do, and you're not going to get it all right all the time. It's okay. He knows you're not going to get it all right. He knows I don't get it all right. But he wants us to do what he wants. He do things his way. He set the standard of what it looks like. So why do we look at a story like this? And ultimately because it reminds us that in order for us to make a difference in the lives of people, we have to see people, be moved with compassion for people, and then do whatever it takes for them to see Jesus. And sometimes that is just as simple as just getting out of the way and making room. Just making room. There was a time a few years ago, whenever, many times, where we've been to Disney World and seen the parade and all, but there's one distinct time that I remember when Molly wasn't even around, where it was just my older girls. And this would have been probably about 2005, 2006, when they were all little with Bailey, Brandon, and Hannah. And we had taken a vacation down here to Orlando, just like so many people do and have. And so we made the trek from Mississippi to here. And of course, you come to Orlando, you're going to Disney World, right? So we're at Disney World, we're at the Magic Kingdom. And of course, you got that parade that comes in through the afternoon. And boy, sometimes if you don't get there early enough, man, it's hard to see, right? And I remember this day so much because it was just my three little girls. They were probably like 5, 7, and 9 or something like that at that point. They were just little. And at that point, boy, it was like, man, Disney princesses, everything, right? I mean, my house, and now I got 4 girls, right? Everything has been princesses forever, and 3 sisters, and I tell you, everything's princess in my life. But on this day, we're there, and of course, we pay all this money. We want our girls to be able to see these princesses, right? To see the parade, to see the characters, see all the stuff. And you get there, and you're trying to make the way, and you're trying to get there and make the space and everything. And finally, they got to where they could see. And it was the coolest thing in the world for Stacy and I. And me, I'm a crier. I just started crying, I'm standing there because I think it was Cinderella or Snow White or someone saw my girls and came over to them and just made them feel so special. And they got to do that because we made sure that they were in a spot to where they could see. To put it in a real simple way, for us as a church, and what I'm talking about this morning, that's what I'm talking about, guys. Having eyes for others, knowing that others need Jesus, and then doing whatever it takes to clear the way, making it as simple as possible so that other people can get a glimpse of Jesus. Because I promise you this, Jesus sees them. So, Life Church, let's be a church to see others. Let's make a difference in the lives of people. God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for loving us. We thank you for the opportunity to know you. Lord, we're thankful that you use people to accomplish your purposes, God. And Lord, I'm thankful to be a part of that. God, I'm thankful for a church that loves people and does whatever it takes. God, I pray that we would continue to do that, God, that we would see others as you do, that we would love others as you do. God, that we would prioritize people over anything and everything. God, again, we love you. And God, I pray that today that we'd see people step up and say yes to you, to serve. Lord, and Lord, I pray that you, Lord, all around the auditorium, God, I pray that you do kingdom work there, God. I pray that people step into the unique giftings and callings that you've given to them. And Lord, do whatever it takes to move out of the way so that people see you. In Jesus' name, amen.
the image of creating a way for you to see Jesus. So if you've said yes or you want to say yes to Jesus, you want to know more about that, come talk to us. Pastor Brant will be out there. I'll be out there. Anyone else that's on our team or staff would love to talk to you and just celebrate what God's doing in your life. Now, I've got a few announcements, so just buckle up briefly. I promise we're going to get you out of here. I know food and football is very important today. Trust me, I'm right there with you. I can't wait for the Packers to win. Young adults, we are having our winter conference in January, but we are looking for you to pay your deposit by tomorrow. So if you want to go to the winter conference, we're going to the Passion Conference in Atlanta, Georgia, with over 60,000 young adults. It's a great time. If you want to be involved, you want more details, you're like, I can't make the deposit tomorrow, come talk to me. We want to see you guys there. Some of you, if you're not sure if you're a young adult or not, ask your spouse or somebody next to you. If they're not strong enough to tell you, come see me. I'll help you understand if you qualify or not. We want to be a loving yet honest place for you. So we would love to talk to you. I'll have a booth out there for young adults information. A few other things. Next week, life groups kick off. So another way for you to say yes is to join a life group. If you're not sure what that is, it's a small group, and it's a way that you're going to build relationships and get to know Jesus even better. So make sure you sign up. We've got that. Say yes to a life group today. We've got communion in a couple of weeks on September 25th. So another way that we get to just honor and worship God and look back on what he's done for us. If you're looking for ways to be a part of everything that's happening at Life Church, if you're looking to give and be a part of the generosity, we have several ways that you can give here. You can do it by texting any amount to the number 84321. You can also drop it off. There's an offering box here on your way out, or you can do it through our website, which is www.lifechurchhw.church, or again, you've got the QR code there in front of you. Now, I love that we get to be generous and we get to do things awesome in this community, but this is one of my favorite times of year because we love our pastor and his wife. Aren't Brant and Stacy awesome? A couple people like Brant and Stacy. All right, cool. Well, hey, listen, they lead us so well and they love us so fiercely. The reason why this is one of my favorite parts of the year is because we get to collectively, as a church, show them a little bit of that love back. So October is Pastor Appreciation Month. If you are looking to be a part of that, we are collecting an offering over the next couple of weeks. You can give on those same resources I did. Just make sure you clarify that it's for Pastor Appreciation. So if you drop something in the box, make sure on the envelope you write Pastor Appreciation. If you're giving online, select the drop down. And what we're going to do is we're going to present them something special next month. So if you want to be a part of that, please, everything helps just to show them that we love them a little bit. So I know it's a lot. Again, guys, make sure you say yes today to something. We're looking for areas to serve, to be a part of life groups. Say yes to multiple things. There are going to be cards at the front where you can sign up, put your name. If you're not sure, man, maybe this isn't an area I want to serve or I don't know, just jump in. If you don't like it, that's okay. We'll find something that fits you and what your needs are. We live in an area here where we go to Disney. So what are we going to do today, guys? We're going to give you Mickey ice cream bars on the way out for our fall kickoff. So enjoy the free ice cream. Thanks for joining us. Guys, have a great week.
Our fight is with weapons unseen. Your enemies crash to their knees as we rise up in worship. When trials unleash like a flood, the battle belongs to our God, as we cry out in worship. The victory is yours. You are riding on the storm. Your name is unfair. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, moving in our midst, and I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. Oh, I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are the waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness.